This is an Audio Wool original.
It is Frightday. I'm your host, Byron, and we're broadcasting live from our galactic compound in the woods of Montana. For somewhere between 4.4 and 4.5 billion years, likely following the collision of a Mars-sized body into proto-Earth. What?
That's not how it formed.
Our moon has been in orbit, and for the last 9 years, we've been talking lunar topics in the midsummer month. And you didn't think we'd skip this time, did ya?
Never.
It's gonna be Return to Astronauts and the Moon this year to celebrate Moon June. Hi, Kelly. I'm joined
Hello.
by you. Sam can't make it because he is being deposed by the government regarding some images he tried to stitch together from a database.
It's true.
Illegal stuff, but we're wishing him the best.
We are.
Speaking of the best, y'all are the best. Thanks so much for the kind words about the new interview series, Visitors.
Yeah.
Really happy to have started rolling that out.
Yeah.
Sam did a wonderful job before being, taken in to custody.
It's true. Yeah. Maybe that was he was trying to get some really good stuff out
think it
before
was
he
related?
couldn't. Yeah. Spill all the beans before. Yeah.
I don't know if Dean Alioto really dropped anything too heavy, but...
Well, I mean, there were a couple heavy things.
yeah, like a big heavy glass of Bloody Mary that you handed him.
You know what's weird is I've kind of been craving one ever since.
Oh, really? You saw that in the video?
And I don't
you're
really
like,
Bloody Marys.
You called it a
typically.
healthy drink?
It is healthy because it's like 90% tomato juice.
Well, thanks to Dean. Really appreciate you.
I mean, the alcohol is not healthy, but I'm just saying if you're going to drink alcohol, pound it
Conversation.
with tomato juice.
But the tomato juice is likely from concentrate. It's usually V8. But I appreciate him, and I'm really excited to revisit
It's pretty healthy.
the McPherson tapes after that conversation, and definitely go check out his new series, the UFO perspective, alien perspective. I'm sorry for getting that wrong.
Yep, that's okay. He's got 2 parts and really interesting. Some good stuff.
Yeah.
We got to watch the premiere of part 2.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It was, really fun.
Spoiler alert, I did leave early to go watch last podcast and then left live, but
Yeah.
I also got some really good popcorn at Contact in the Desert.
Oh,
Remember that?
my God.
Yeah, you kinda
In fact, I have to remember, I'm going to send a note to Ron and I need to tell him that popcorn.
More popcorn.
More popcorn.
Of course, this is a live show. It's been kind of sporadic how we've been doing it, but don't worry, you can still reach out to us. We have a phone number, 1-833-374-4489, 1-833-FRIGHT9. Is there a button that I push for that?
I mean, there used to be.
Call 1-833-374-4489 now to share your paranormal encounters and real-life nightmares, or to talk horror with the hosts.
Yeah, leave us a message. You could give us a tip. It's a hotline of sorts as
So,
well.
yeah, tips, like as in, like, tell us something, not
yes,
as in,
yes.
like,
Maybe
money.
Something. Well, yeah, it's not a
Not that kind
buy
of
me a
tip.
coffee kind of thing.
I mean, I like buy me a coffees.
That's fine,
I'm really
but-
trying to do those these days.
Share your personal stories of terror, film recommendations, anything at all, or maybe even something like this.
Howdy, folks. Pelican Q Willits are here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. So this takes place in Wingate, Pennsylvania, in and around 1992.
Good year.
Okay.
I was at my grandparents' house for the day with my sister when she suddenly called us to the front screen door of the kitchen. And I just remember everyone gasping as they looked up into the sky.
Yes.
And I couldn't see because I was about 2 years old. So my grandfather hoisted me up,
Thank God.
and then I saw it probably 200 feet in the air. Classic double pie plate UFO.
Those are my secret favorite.
I know they are because they're old-timey.
Well, that's not
They're
good.
Pie
vintage.
plate spun. Between them, there was a central band
Love it.
studded with yellow windows that did not. And That's about as far as I remember. Why it wasn't the news story of the century, I don't know. For how long and low it stood there in the air, but I know it wasn't a dream. That I'm certain. My sister remembers it too. She'll tell the same story. But that's where certainty ends.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Oh my God. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
What?
So just so you know,
How close is it to Allentown?
Well, I was looking to see how close Wind Gap was to Philadelphia after I saw that it was north, and it's about 2 hours, 5 minutes north if you take I-476. But what is closer to it
Is Allentown?
is Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's about 37
God.
minutes. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Pelican Q Willis, I think, is the name. Thank you so much for the call. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah,
Said it in a hell of an experience.
Also, we need to look up now. If you can remember what time of year it was.
Interesting. Why?
Because we can look up UFO Reporting Center.
You can use it goes back then.
Oh my God, yes.
Like MUFON
Peter
was-
Davenport?
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Oh my God. You guys, I apologize to everybody out there. So Peter Davenport definitely has records going back further than that. And if there were other reports around that time, we're going to look into it.
Wow. Very cool. And thanks so much for the call. Yeah, anyone, feel free to call us, 1-833-374-4489. I actually wasn't even looking at the screen today.
Nope. Here we are. Tons of them.
Wait, what?
Yep.
In that area?
Yep.
Let's review it later.
In 1992 specifically.
Awesome. But let's let's do that another time because we got a big show, Kelly.
February 5th, 1992 was a big day.
Wonderful.
Let me know if you think it was around then.
Wonder if it was then. But yeah, it's Kelly. It's June, of course. And
Moon?
People thought that we might be skipping Moon June.
No.
It's time to talk Moon, and let's return now to take a deeper look from the perspective of folks on the other side of the atmosphere. It is Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies Return to Astronauts and the Moon.
Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies.
So Byron,
Yeah.
had a bunch of whistleblowers recently. Lots of people,
Is that
especially people involved with, the military,
I guess.
telling stories about
good.
their encounters.
Yeah.
And I also know that everybody has been waiting for Mango Mussolini to sweep in and give us what we've been waiting for decades.
Full disclosure, of course.
Nuclear war.
Oh.
Oh, just kidding. No, yeah, actually, disclosure. Interestingly, he might have done that.
As like an accident? Like a
Well,
goof or something?
Perhaps
Fell out of his pocket when he tripped up those
by
stairs?
way of Army Secretary Dan Driscoll.
I don't know who Dan Driscoll
Yeah.
Young Americans across the country get to see all of the amazing things that the Army has done, whether it's helping with floods in North Carolina or wildfires in California, or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier. What did he say? Including actually going to war and fighting.
Okay. So
So-
you're leaning into a little bit of meme culture there.
So, he was saying somebody was on the moon,
Oh, a soldier on the moon.
a soldier on the moon.
Well, he's looks like an idiot, right?
I mean, he is the Army Secretary, but he is part of
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say-
appointed folks by. Yeah, so either he's an idiot or we have soldiers on the moon right now. Either way, affirms one of my
A
beliefs.
soldier on the moon. I just don't believe it, Kelly. I don't believe that we have the physical resources to quite set up a base like that.
There's a lot of missing money in every time the Pentagon does any type of even a shot at an accounting of what they're spending. There's always so much money missing. So maybe that's
true.
where it's going.
All right.
Hey, I think you're probably right, though. Most likely,
He's a misspeaker.
don't. I think he just has no clue what he's saying. He was already using words that were probably too big for him.
It's
in that.
difficult to speak sometimes.
I mean, I would not, in all fairness, I would be terrible at speaking on live television, but also I would never try to be the Army Secretary. So, anyhow, let's talk about some smarter people.
Oh, okay. Sure.
People who have been on the moon or other astronauts and cosmonauts, they may not be on there right now, but the things they have seen far outnumber the things we've heard about here on the ground.
Many astronauts made their own private films while on space missions. The astronauts faced UFOs so regularly that they became part of their everyday life. Because of restrictions, however, they were unable to describe their encounters to the public.
Sure about that?
I mean, it seems really interesting because you hear a lot of astronauts and cosmonauts talk about individual encounters. Some of them talk about multiple encounters. And then people talk a lot about how the attitude or the energy or just the general vibe that these folks give off when they return from space seems to shift. Like something has changed. Now, in all honesty, seeing the Earth from space is probably going to shift your perspective on things, literally and metaphorically.
We all saw what Katy Perry felt, right?
God, don't talk about that.
What?
It's going to make me really angry.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, jeez.
She had like a normal, healthy human response. William Shatner did that. Wow, remember that one?
Do not compare Katy Perry to William Shatner.
They both had different reactions to being in space.
I don't like
but
talking about Katy Perry.
Wait, why?
You know, Byron, some important sightings, however, happened even before we went to the moon.
Oh, okay.
In fact, in 1962, first orbital flight of Earth, U.S. orbital flight, that is, because the Russians did beat us to that one. On Mercury 6, John Glenn took this picture.
Why did it mute? We're having a couple technical difficulties here. Look at this.
On the Mercury 1 mission on February 20th, 1962, John Glenn took this picture of two glowing objects.
Oh, so we kind of just said exactly what you said.
Yeah, well, the glowing objects, though. Also, it was correctly noting that it was Mercury 1, and I tried to say it was Mercury 6, so luckily it corrected me. That's good. Won't have to go down for that. Don't have a video of this one, Byron, but I thought this was a very interesting story because there is a record, a specific exchange you can find in the NASA archives.
Sure.
So at least we've got evidence of the audio. December of 1965, this was Gemini 7.
Oh.
Okay. James Lovell, who you may know from Apollo 13 fame. That's the only reason I recognize that name, if I'm being honest.
Who plays him in Apollo 13? Is it like a cool
I don't know. It was
actor?
either Bacon or Hanks. I don't know which.
It's one of those guys.
One of those two.
Yeah.
He reported encountering a bogey, which you may recognize that if you've ever seen Top Gun.
Yeah, military
a
term
bogey?
for an enemy.
Yeah. The
craft.
sad thing is, all jokes aside, that is why I know the word bogey.
It's from Top Gun.
Well, I mean, it's from every form of military dealing with the air. But yeah. Lovell says, bogey at 10 o'clock high. Houston says, was that the booster or was that an actual sighting? Lovell, we have several actual sightings.
Don't need to yell it. It's getting louder there.
It's important.
Okay.
Lovell's terse radio transmission definitely clarifies he saw multiple objects and confirmed that they were not the booster. The Titan II rocket was in view. The rocket stage was in view, but Lovell insisted he saw that and something else. Frank Borman also saw the scene, just didn't make a separate call. The UFO still is unidentified to this point, and you can read those transcripts. They have been declassified.
Oh, but you skipped it here. It says it was also likely debris.
No, Byron. Oh, if you fuck with my notes, I'm not going to let you see my
All
notes.
right. Well, that's fair. And
Yeah.
you've
So-
broken my rules before.
Yeah. So the issue is, if you read all of the source material for it, I'm sorry, but there's no way that I'm going to believe that an astronaut can see the booster and then say, and I see these other things as well.
But
of course,
usually when a booster breaks apart, there's other pieces.
I'm pretty sure an astronaut's going to understand that
That's their
and
first
know what
time
they're.
up there, isn't it?
I don't think it was Lovell's first time
All
up.
right. Well, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah. Then James McDivitt in 1966. Okay, he was orbiting. This was Gemini 4, I believe. He saw something also very strange, which became even more strange when video of the encounter mysteriously disappeared. Gemini initially thought again, it was the spent booster. This is a recurring theme, you will see.
Well, because
But McDivitt noted it did not look like the booster alone. Okay, so of course NASA says, oh, it's just debris. It's just the sun glinting on something. But again, these are experienced, kids dream about being astronauts. You have to go through a lot of shit to become an astronaut. This isn't like what you go through to become Army secretary, for example.
Sure.
Or they'll just put anybody up there. Even if
you have to work
they can't
at
speak.
Fox, though.
Well, maybe that could be part of it. Or, what's the really bad one?
I mean, you could have a nickname like Big Balls or something.
Oh, that's true. You could do that.
People like that.
Yeah. There are transcripts from the mission where McDivitt talks about this, and then there are quite a few interviews that he has given. There's a tadpole photo that you can see. It is the one photo that I know of, at least, that remains, but the rest of it was confiscated.
This.
Yep, this is McDivitt.
I happened to glance out one time, and there against the black sky was a white object. Geometry of it was sort of like a beer can or a Coke can with a pencil sticking out one of the round edges at about a 45-degree angle.
On the Gemini 4 spaceflight on June 3, 1966, astronaut James McDivitt took a photograph of this cylindrical object.
I don't know.
It does not look like a booster.
Not a lot of. I mean, it looks like a cylindrical object, and there's no
exactly what he described.
Well, but there's no way to know how.
No, there isn't any way to know. But I trust trained astronauts.
Okay.
I mean, if it was Katy Perry reporting it, I probably wouldn't trust it because she doesn't know shit.
She probably had to do a lot of training.
But she did very little training.
She brought flowers, Kelly.
She is so annoying.
Don't know why you think that. That's okay.
All right, that's okay, because Gemini 11, there was a cluster alongside the craft. This was in 1966. A gentleman named Pete Conrad, another of our brave astronauts, witnessed this.
On the Gemini 11 mission, September 13, 1966, Pete Conrad and Richard Gordon observed a cluster of UFOs alongside their craft. They described them as large and very bright.
Okay, so that's not a booster.
Yeah, but it looks like a light, like some sort of.
It does look light.
Yeah,
there's light. I agree.
And light sometimes reflects off of things, right?
Yeah.
All right. It's interesting, though.
I mean,
it's interesting.
I mean, these are trained folks. Okay, let's go to
go back and look at the picture a little bit.
I mean, look at that. Those look like some of these, Byron, pretty soon I'm going to have you clued into the 9 different categories of UFOs so that we can talk about them more comprehensively. But this is one of those categories for sure. I don't know if you have seen the awesome Nope video that's been swirling around.
I mean, why is it called is it actually called the Nope video, or is that
no? That's just like what it's. No, it's not. It's not just me. It is like in the zeitgeist known as that.
It's the new thing that Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp released.
Right. Well, it was from the Pentagon, and then they released it. But yeah, so it is like darting behind clouds. It does look like it came from
the film.
The film.
Yeah.
And these look to be similar kind of objects.
Kind of. I guess you could say that.
I mean, keep in mind, this is the 60s. Pretty good to have any visual representation from the 60s.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And
fair to say.
A lot of this is coming from the pilots themselves because, the NASA footage itself is rarely released.
I should say also, this is kind of a visual episode. So you might want to go to youtube.com/Frightday and subscribe and watch there. But
it's true.
We'll do our best to describe it. I don't know. How would you describe this little bundle here? Just like 3 orb balls of light.
It looks like
yellow to orange red.
Yeah,
kind
like
of a green aura around it.
Sticky Play-Doh balls.
Okay, so
I don't know.
I'm gonna say you're not good at that.
No, I'm not good at that.
Right.
I'm not good at that. Maybe I'll have one for the next one.
Okay.
So Apollo 11. This is the big one, right?
Film, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the one. This is where we landed on the moon, right? Neil and Buzz. We've heard lots of rumors. We've talked about them before. What did they or didn't they see on the moon? What did they report back on that secret channel? But they did take pictures and film some strange lights orbiting the moon.
During the Apollo 11 mission in July 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin saw these 2 UFOs, which were in orbit around the moon. The astronauts filmed the extraordinary glowing objects from the Apollo 11 spacecraft and reported to Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, that the UFOs even accompanied them to the moon.
They look like disco balls in orbit without visible threads.
So
hanging
the
them.
fact that they're all moving independently means that they weren't close to each other, right? Like,
not necessarily. It doesn't mean that they were close to each other, but it also doesn't mean that they weren't. It's also different perspectives, different vantage points that's being shot here.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to say anything else, I guess, because I know how it doesn't really help. But
well, so yeah.
So to me, this shows it's multiple layers of light refraction, but I don't know.
I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
And that's the
We've
magic.
only got, if you're trying to track Byron, you're only going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 more random explanations. So make sure you're saving them.
I've got them all written down.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought this was interesting. Apollo 17. This was in December of 1972. Commander Eugene Cernan made this statement. I've been asked about UFOs, and I've said publicly, I thought they were somebody else, some other civilization. So he saw some stuff up there, and that was specifically what he said about it. Again, commander of a Apollo mission, probably not totally loopy, probably has some reason to say that one way or the other. Could be a disinformation agent, I guess. Like, we could definitely entertain that idea.
Could like attention as well. I want to scratch that off my list.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So that's great. April 1979. Now we're moving over in the Cold War. We're hopping across the ocean over to, at this point, it was still USSR.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Victor Afanassiev.
Good job.
Afanasyev?
You did your absolute best.
Afanasyev.
Yeah.
Was on his way to dock with the Soviet Salyut 6 space station.
Salyut 6.
And a craft suddenly began tailing them. He got some film of it, but his film and cameras were confiscated and then disappeared. I'm wondering if this is in what George Knapp brought back when he went into Russia and got a bunch of their records and came back.
He went to Russia?
Have you not heard this story? Jesus Christ, where have you been?
It followed us during half of our orbit. We observed it on the light side, and when we entered the shadow side, it disappeared completely. It was an engineering structure made from some type of metal, approximately 40 meters long, with inner holes. The object was narrow here and wider here, and inside there were openings. Some places had projections like small wings. The object stayed very close to us. We photographed it, and our photos showed it to be 23 to 28 meters away. It is still classified as a UFO because we have yet to identify the object.
Okay, well.
I mean, that's a pretty detailed description. It's interesting that those documents are still classified. Nobody gets to see those photos unless, like I said, this is in the content that George Knapp brought out of Russia.
When did he do that?
Years ago, maybe 20 years ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The drawing's kind of fun.
It is. It's a great drawing.
It's not really like a traditional UFO that you see.
I got to get you to look at these 6 or the 9 types. We got to get your classification. In fact,
well,
maybe
we should
I'll
do
get
an episode on that.
We should.
Maybe that should be a behind the screens.
That would be a great episode.
Yeah.
I really, really like it.
Okay.
All right. Another cosmonaut, a Mir station cosmonaut, Musa Manarov. He originally thought that the object outside his window was totally normal, perhaps a booster, in fact.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then he realized that it definitely wasn't.
Okay.
At some point in the filming, I caught sight of something that seemed to have separated from the ship. Moreover, it was rotating as it moved away and changing its brightness. I can't say exactly how far away it was. I can only say it was not very close, because the camera was focused on infinity. At first, it seemed to me that something has separated from the ship. But then, when I examined the ship, I realized that there was nothing that could have broken away. What's more, there were no alarms going off. Everything was calm. Later, there were lengthy arguments as to what it could possibly have been.
This is
his film.
This is his footage. So his got out.
His did. Yeah. For some reason, they didn't confiscate it. Now, I will say, Byron, I'm going to do this for you. Okay. The reason that it's lighting up and then not lighting up could be because it is rotating in a way that's catching sunlight and then not catching sunlight and then catching sunlight.
Or moonlight.
Right. So I'm not saying that means it is an operated craft or not an operated craft. I'm just saying that it could be creating its own light or it could be reflecting light.
The thing that stands out to me is how vertical it is.
It does look like a door that's just kind of like rotating in space.
I guess that
kind of
makes
interesting.
sense. Yeah. Well, there it is. It's like maybe
it's like the Twilight Zone door.
What's the phone booth from that Doctor Who thing?
Oh yeah, the T. It starts with a T.
Tesseract, is that?
No, that's from. No,
I don't remember.
That's a Christopher Nolan thing.
Sure. Oh, it twisted though. That's kind of interesting, huh?
It is interesting, and the long footage of it is also interesting to me.
It could just be a wrench though.
I don't think it's just a wrench.
Could be.
Okay, now there, it looks like there's something at the base of it that could be emitting its own light. But again...
Could be the reflection on the base, though. Who knows? Very interesting.
That's a good one. It's a good one. Some sightings by astronauts didn't even happen in space. So I have a theory that maybe when they were up there, they made some friends who were like swooping back down into our atmosphere to say hi. One gentleman who had been an astronaut, one of the earlier astronauts, in fact, Pavel Popovich. He was a major general at this time, and he was on an airplane with a delegation of Russian scientists that had come to the States, and they were flying home to Russia from D.C., and holy cow, did they get a show. I've got to read it out loud, though. Let me practice my Russian. For some reason, I was compelled to look out the plane's window. I looked, and my eyes grew real big.
It's like you know before you even saying it.
I saw next to us, about 1.5 kilometers away, and about 1,000 meters higher than us, there is a flying object. Its shape is a perfect right triangle. It was white, a very bright white. I'm a pilot, a fighter pilot, and I know many different types of flying crafts.
I know all my shapes.
It was nothing like I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently the other scientists, they spent time debating this, and none of them could rationalize or identify what it was.
Huh.
So.
Wow. Okay.
Gordon Cooper, one of the biggest experiencers, so Mercury and Apollo missions, lifelong pilot. I don't think he ever flew for airlines, actually. Some like to discount him, perhaps because of his voice, but actually what he says really has checked out, especially in recent years with whistleblowers from the military like Grush and Fravor and Barber. This is a story way back from 1951. He was flying over Germany in an F-86, and he saw an absurd number of saucer-shaped craft flying in formation.
You said you saw literally hundreds of unidentifiable flying objects.
Yes, they were flying quite high. How high we couldn't tell because we couldn't get anywhere near their altitude. But they were either very large craft way up or smaller craft still well above what we could get to.
For a day and a half, all of this happened. But then no one wanted to talk about it.
Well, we sent a report forward on it, and the answer that finally came back months later was they were probably high-flying seed pods, which didn't sound very logical.
High-flying seed pods? What the
That's even bad for Byron standards.
Well, what does that mean? I guess is kind of what I like. Like a literal pod.
I don't know, like pods
plant?
that come off of a tree and like the wind carries them away and they're flying in the air.
And they keep going up.
They had worked through their list, Byron. They were digging deep for ideas.
Pods,
yeah.
I don't know what that means, so I can't really say anything about it.
Okay. Well, so this is one that we, to the best of my knowledge, I've never heard about before. Okay. And so I'm going to give a little more background. It is from Project Blue Book.
Brief explanation. About
Project Blue Book was, it began as kind of a debunking effort on the part of our government to track UFO encounters and then explain them away. The man who ran it, J. Allen Hynek, ended up becoming a believer over the course of doing this because he decided that actually there were too many things he couldn't debunk. And when they had him dig way too deep into his overnight bag for crazy explanations, trying to explain away all of these things that people were seeing and experiencing, he finally said, I've had enough. And he flipped sides and spent the rest of his life really trying to help the UFO community. In fact, his son, Paul Hynek, was at Contact in the Desert.
Yeah.
Crazy nice gentleman, very smart himself. And so this is...
Why the hell haven't we done an episode on
Blue Book?
Yeah, that's kind of weird,
I think it comes up all the time, but we could do a full episode on it.
It's fine. I think it probably came up during, I don't know, Majestic 12 or something.
I mean, it comes up it's worth doing its own episode, though.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's weird.
So this was case 1025. There was a fairly routine sighting that was first written off as a weather balloon. And when you hear the gentleman discuss it, he's even going to say himself that he thought it was a weather balloon. This is Donald, also known as Deke Slayton. He was an astronaut, in fact, and much like Cooper, he was a pilot. I'm sure you know the stories. That's how they picked who they were going to use as original astronauts. They picked really incredibly good pilots.
It translates a little bit.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, especially because this was a new thing that they were trying out. They're like, well, okay. It occurred 7 days before.
7 days before.
A different pilot had experienced a rotating disc 5 miles southeast of this place in Minnesota. And the pilot was an above average pilot. We'll hear that about Deke. And his experience actually led him to be handpicked as one of the 7 astronauts that were picked for the early space program. Have you ever seen
The Delightful Seven?
Beyond, what is it? For All Mankind?
Majestic 12. No, I haven't seen that show.
It has nothing to do with aliens.
It was an Apple TV show.
Yeah,
right?
it's actually pretty good.
I feel like there's a million Apple TV shows.
There are.
Yeah.
This is a pretty fun one, but you see a little bit of how they're picking the astronauts and that. I mean, it diverges. It becomes like an alternate history show, but for a while it's history. And Deke Slayton does give a whole account of this. He was doing a maintenance test flight in an F-51, and he talks about being, up in the middle of a sunny afternoon, and he had come out of a spin at 10,000 feet. So they literally have him go do these crazy moves to
it's a testing G's. See what you can withstand.
And he was about 25 miles from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. He was heading back to Holman Field. All of a sudden he saw this white object at the same altitude he was. Thought for a second it was a kite, then thought it was a weather balloon. And then he changed his mind.
As I closed on this thing, it looked like a weather balloon, and that's what I presumed it was. And I had plenty of gas and time, so I decided I'd just come back around and make a pass on it. And I got around where I should have been coming back on this thing. All of a sudden, it didn't look like a balloon anymore. It looked like a saucer sitting on edge, about a 45-degree angle. I didn't have any gun camera film on board, unfortunately, or I'd have shot some pictures of it. And about that time, I guess whatever it was, for whatever reason, just took off climbing at about a 45-degree angle and just accelerated and disappeared. And I obviously couldn't follow it with an old piston engine fighter.
It was a piston
engine. I turned around and went home.
Okay. So I don't know if you noticed this, but he talked about it flying, being set up on its edge, maybe at a 45-degree angle. We keep hearing that theme about the way that sometimes these saucer-shaped ones fly through the air, not at an aerodynamic direction, but that they're they tip up and they move. That's something that Bob Lazar even described with his the craft that he's supposedly worked on.
Does anyone ever call him Bobby, you think? Like close
I've never
friends
heard him
and family?
I mean, I feel like I should be a close friend, and I prefer to call him Bob. He just strikes me as more of a Bob than a Bobby.
Yeah.
Maybe a Rob.
Yeah, okay. No Robert, though.
No, I think just Bob.
Okay.
Just Bob. A little bit of follow-up, tail end of this story.
Did he ever go up to the moon, this guy?
He was an astronaut. I don't know if he was one of the guys that went to the moon. I don't know if he was an Apollo one.
Okay.
We'd have to look that up. But when he got back, he was told in the officers club with his boss, who happened to be a full colonel. Get your ass over to intelligence in the morning and give them a briefing. So that's what he did.
Well, I think that sounds like normal procedure,
totally.
right? Like if you see something you can't explain, you go to...
So he's over at intelligence on the base, and these guys are nodding and taking notes. And at the end, they say, well, just for your information, the day you saw this object, okay, a local company was flying high-altitude research balloons. They had a light airplane that was tracking it, and then they had a station wagon on the ground. And both observers in the plane and on the ground were watching the balloon, and they saw this object, just like what you're describing, come up beside the balloon, appear to hover, and then took off like hell. The guys on the ground tracked it, and they computed its speed at 4,000 miles per hour.
That sounds like an error to me, but...
Well, I know. Okay, so, but I guess you haven't used that one yet, so that's fair. That was a new one. That was a good new one.
I'm relatively good at this. This is...
The debunking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's, when you're committed to a specific idea, you will come up with a lot of things to keep that idea in play.
No,
I know.
I'm just considering the most likely thing.
No, you're really committed to the idea. It couldn't possibly be something outside. But I, on the other hand, do trust these American heroes. Think that they have a lot to share with us.
Okay.
And I feel like if we start doing more in space again, which who knows if we even will have a planet to take off from.
I was going to say, you celebrate all these talented
Yeah.
pilots, just like the ones who bombed Iran.
Well, you know,
and completely destroyed the nuclear program.
Right, but then the next day partially destroyed it.
Sure.
And now we're not really sure.
Of course. Well,
it was interesting how they, like, I think it had to do with a time warp. Like, they messed it up. They flipped time backwards.
I don't think that's what it
and
was.
And they just didn't mean to do
Maybe
it in the
that is
reverse
true.
order.
Yeah, maybe that actually is a good debunk as well.
Yeah.
Kelly. Appreciate
Yeah.
you with that.
We've got cosmonauts that call them space guests. We've got
Space guests.
reports from secret transmission lines.
Wait. Aren't we the guests in their space?
Well, Byron, now sounds like you want to get into a conversation about how perhaps these ETs are actually just ultra-terrestrials and they've been here the whole time.
Interesting.
And we're actually the visitors. Okay. So, we'll have to chat more about that at some point. But
another plug for our chat show visitors.
Yeah,
Available
I know.
now at youtube.com/Frightday. More coming about
oh my God, so many.
9 episodes and more coming after that.
Yeah,
so.
You guys, we have had so many amazing conversations. I can't wait to share them with you. Look at. Did you see? I don't know if
Wait,
you
what
saw
do you
it.
got
Hold
there?
on.
No.
I got a baby raven pin. You see my baby raven pin?
Oh, because you talked to Hoodoo Tall. Listen,
Jesus. Jürgen Hess. Just call him Jürgen Hess.
Well,
if you can't
that
call him Hoodoo.
might be harder for me.
Jürgen?
Yeah. Well, just both unique names.
They are unique names.
That's all I'm saying. Nothing bad.
Great guy.
Amazing guy.
Fascinating.
Sweetheart.
So kind.
Yeah.
He's he's one with the witches.
Sure.
He's anti-patriarchy.
Sure is. Can't wait to
Good man.
air that conversation.
I can't wait for you to either.
It might actually come out next. I might want to try to break up the Contact in the Desert interviews, but
I mean, maybe. Really, that Mitch one. I really
Mitch
want
Randall.
people to hear about what's going on
Yeah.
with Mitch's plans. Also, if anybody out there has $5 million that you're trying
give to Mitch Randall,
do something notable with,
Kelly,
this would be a good investment.
Thanks so much for this report. Appreciate it. Happy Moon June.
Thank you. Happy Moon June to you.
I mean, it's no mooning for sure.
No, it's way better.
Well, okay. Well, you can go back and listen to last year's episode, Mooning, and the year before that. Remember, you started your series on Michael Jackson, the Fake News. Moonwalk. Yeah, that was a lot of fun as well. So,
yeah.
But I think we've got like over a dozen of these Moon June. Maybe I'll link a bunch in the show notes of this episode, and if you want to play catch up, you can do that as well.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, because you have a few more days to celebrate. Also, Happy Pride.
Happy Pride,
I don't
everybody.
think we said Happy Pride Month, but
yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you. The folks over at Louder Than Crowder are donating some money from our Patreon over there. So
good for you
Trevor
guys.
Project, and I think can't remember the name of the other charity that we're donating to, but yeah, take care of your LGBTQ plus folks because it's a wild world out there these days.
It is a wild world. Make sure they know that you don't take the company line, so to speak, on what our nation is trying to do.
It's a bit of what I call a shit show, Kelly.
Oh, I thought you were going to say fascist regime.
It is
or...
that, yes. But...
Okay. All right.
But yeah, holy cow, it's been fun to celebrate with you, Kelly.
It's been fun to celebrate with you. Sam did have one contribution. He took a really cool picture of the moon, which I'll have Byron put in the show notes of the episode because it's a beautiful moon picture.
Okay, he took a picture of the moon. That's good.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Well, I do, yeah, and he's good at time-lapse photography. That's
I mean, check this out, B. It's pretty good.
That's a good picture of the moon.
It's a good picture of the moon.
I like it.
If you look really closely, you can see the towers.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, big news. Next week, I believe, the return to Allentown. Allentown Part 2.
Oh. I am beyond excited.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Prepare yourself.
I've got some things I'm going to hold close to my chest that I can't wait to reveal. But until then, Kelly...
It's not fair that you can do that and I can't. I mean, like, literally, ability.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could try, but you're not good at it. My name's Byron.
I'm Kelly.
Keep your eyes to the sky.
Indeed.
And stay scared?
Stay curious.
You've been listening to an Audio Wool original, produced by Byron McKoy. Theme music is provided by Yawns. For more programs like this, visit audiowool.co.